The night was quiet, but inside the small house the silence was broken by a sound that cut through the boy's heart. His mother was crying again. She thought her son was asleep, but he was awake, listening. Every night since his father had left, the same thing happened. The boy lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of every tear his mother shed. She cried softly, like she was trying to hide the pain, but sometimes her voice shook, and he could hear her whisper words he could barely understand. "Why did you leave? How do I raise him alone? How do I survive?" The boy wanted to run to her, hold her, and tell her it would be fine, but he was only a child. He had no power, no way to stop her pain. He closed his eyes, but the sound of her sorrow filled his chest like heavy stones. No one came to help them. The neighbors kept their distance. Friends who once visited now stayed away. Even family stopped calling. It was as if his mother had been left in a dark corner of the world, unseen and forgotten. She worked all day, came home tired, and at night, when she thought her son was sleeping, she broke down again. The boy felt anger. Why would no one care? Why was his mother left alone to suffer? She was kind, gentle, and strong, but now she was broken. He remembered the day his father had gone. No warning, no letter, just silence. The house never felt the same again. He remembered his mother's eyes back then, full of hope. Now those eyes carried only shadows. Sometimes she would look at the door, waiting, as if she believed he would return any moment. Other times, she would whisper to herself, "Humans are cursed. No one will save us." Those words hit the boy harder than anything else. Humans are cursed. Was that true? He did not want to believe it. But when he looked around, he saw no one offering help. No one came to comfort his mother. No one cared about their suffering. One night, when the crying grew louder, he sat up in bed and whispered to himself, "If no one will help her, then I will. Even if I am just a boy, I will do it." The decision burned inside him like fire. He did not know how. He did not know when, but he made a silent promise. He would bring his father back. He would end his mother's tears. That night he could not sleep. The sound of his mother's sorrow mixed with the beating of his heart. He stared out the small window near his bed. The sky was full of stars, but something strange happened. One of the stars flickered brighter than the rest, then another, then more. They blinked like eyes, almost alive, almost watching. He sat up, feeling a strange pull. It was as if the stars were calling to him. He pressed his forehead against the cold glass and whispered, "Do you see me? Do you see my mother? Do you know where my father is?" The stars twinkled again, and for a moment the boy felt less alone. But with that comfort came fear. What if the stars were hiding the truth? What if his father was out there, lost among them? He lay back down, heart racing. The crying in the other room had stopped, but he could still feel the sadness in the walls. The boy clenched his fists. He would not give up. He could not. The next morning he tried to be cheerful. He smiled at his mother, though his heart was heavy. She forced a smile back, but her eyes were red, proof of another long night. She prepared his breakfast, but he noticed her hands shaking. She looked tired, fragile, like a glass about to shatter. As he ate, he remembered the promise he made. He looked at her and thought, "One day I will make you smile again. I will bring him back." Days passed, but the nights never changed. Always the same sound of quiet sobs. Always the same whispered words of despair. The boy's anger grew stronger. How could the world turn away from them? How could no one help? One night, when the crying was too much to bear, he whispered to himself, "Maybe no one cares about us, because we are human. Maybe that is why." He hated the thought, but deep inside he felt it might be true. Humans were weak, fragile, and alone. No one came to help them. No one came to save his mother. Still, in his heart, The fire burned. He remembered the stars flickering outside his window. He remembered the promise he made. And in that moment, something shifted. He was not only a boy anymore, he was someone with a mission. The night ended, but the seed of his journey had been planted. The boy would no longer just listen to his mother cry. He would find answers. He would find his father, and one day, he would prove that humans were not cursed. As he drifted to sleep, the stars outside glowed brighter than ever, as if whispering secrets only he could hear. The universe was watching, and soon, it would reveal its truth. The boy could not forget the sound of his mother's tears. Every night it echoed in his heart like a wound that never healed. But something new had begun inside him. A spark, a fire, a promise that he would not stay weak forever. He would bring his father back, no matter how impossible it seemed. One stormy evening, while his mother was asleep, the boy sat quietly in his father's old workshop. The room smelled of oil, dust, and forgotten memories. On the table lay broken tools, wires, and papers scattered like pieces of a puzzle no one had finished. His father used to spend hours here working on things the boy never understood. Machines that hummed, devices that glowed, strange symbols written in notebooks. The boy touched the table with his small hands, imagining his father sitting there, focused, silent, alive. His chest ached with longing. He whispered, "Where are you, Father? Why did you leave us?" Suddenly, the silence of the workshop was broken. From the corner of the room, an old radio, rusted, silent for years, crackled to life. At first, it was only static, a harsh, broken sound. The boy froze. He had never seen it work before. He leaned closer, heart racing. Then the static shifted. Through the noise, he heard a voice he knew. "Son, can you hear me?" The boy's eyes widened, his body trembled. It was his father's voice. He could not mistake it. The same deep tone, the same warmth, but now it carried fear. "Son, if you hear this, do not trust them. Do not trust anyone. They will erase us. You must find me before it is too late." The message repeated, over and over, before fading, back into static. The boy staggered back, breathing hard. His mind spun. His father was alive. Alive. But who were they? And what did he mean by erase? He replayed the words in his head, each one cutting deeper. This was no dream. No trick of his imagination. The voice was real, and it came from beyond the silence of the world. The boy looked at the radio, eyes wide with both fear and hope. His father had left a message hidden in this old machine. But why here? Why now? His mother stirred in the other room, but he did not tell her. She had cried enough. If he told her and it was only false hope, it would break her completely. This secret was his to carry. The next night, he returned to the workshop. Again, the radio came alive. Again, the voice whispered, "Son, do not trust them. Find me before they erase everything." But this time, the boy noticed something else. Behind the voice, faint and strange, there were patterns. Beeps. Clicks. Almost like another language hidden under the words. He leaned closer, listening carefully. It was not random. It was a code. His father had left him a signal. The boy searched through the papers on the table. His father's notebooks were filled with symbols and drawings of strange machines. Many pages were covered with circles, stars, and numbers. One page caught his eye. It showed a design of something like a gateway, a machine that could open a path to another place. At the bottom of the page, written in his father's messy handwriting, were the words, "Only he can finish it." The boy's heart pounded. Was his father talking about him? The static of the radio grew louder, almost angry. The boy jumped as the lights in the room flickered. Then, for just 1 second, the voice returned clear and sharp. "They are watching. Do not wait." And then silence. The boy sat frozen, staring at the radio. His breath came fast. The words echoed in his skull. Watching. Who was watching? The neighbors? The town? Something bigger? He felt as if unseen eyes were on him, even in the safety of his small house. That night, he could not sleep. The stars, outside his window, blinked again, brighter than before, as though they were alive. They seemed to whisper, "Come, find the truth." The boy understood something now. His father had not abandoned them. He had been taken, hidden, maybe even hunted. And the only way to bring him back was to follow the signal. But how could a child fight something powerful enough to erase everything? How could he even begin? The answer came when he looked at the strange, half-built machine in the corner of the workshop. Its metal frame was incomplete, wires hanging like veins, circuits dark and silent. It looked dead. But when the radio came, alive, the machine had hummed faintly, as though it too had heard the call. The boy walked toward it slowly, touching its cold surface. A shiver ran through him. His father had been building something incredible, something dangerous, maybe something forbidden. And now it was in his hands. He whispered, "I don't know how, but I will finish what you started." The stars outside flared again, as if answering his promise. The boy did not yet understand the danger, the enemies, or the power waiting for him. He did not yet know that this signal was not only a call for help, but also a warning of forces greater than anything he could imagine. But he knew one thing. He was no longer just a boy listening to his mother cry. He was part of something much larger, something that stretched beyond his small house, beyond the quiet town, beyond even Earth itself. The forbidden signal had changed everything, and it was only the beginning. The boy could not stay away from the workshop anymore. Every evening after his mother went to sleep, he slipped inside the room that still carried his father's scent of iron, oil, and dust. The old radio sat silent, now, as if its secret had been spent. But the words of his father still burned in his head. "Find me before they erase everything." The boy's eyes always returned to the strange object in the corner, the unfinished machine. It looked like no tool or device he had ever seen before. Its frame was shaped like a circle, large enough for a person to walk through. Metal rods stuck out like bones, wires dangled like nerves, and pieces of glass shimmered faintly in the dark. It was broken, incomplete, but not dead. The first night he touched it, the machine hummed softly, as if it were breathing. He pulled, his hand back in shock, but his heart raced with curiosity. Something inside told him that this was the key. This was what his father had been working on. This was what the message was about. Day by day, the boy explored the machine. He looked through the notebooks scattered across the table. His father had filled them with sketches, numbers, and strange diagrams. Some pages showed the machine glowing with light. Others showed it opening like a doorway into the stars. One page had only 5 words written at the bottom. "Human heart will guide it." The boy stared at those words for a long time. What did they mean? How could a heart guide a machine? He spent hours pressing buttons, tightening screws, and connecting wires. Most of the time, nothing happened. But sometimes the machine flickered. A spark jumped. A hum grew louder. The boy felt hope. He remembered his promise. He would bring his father back no matter what. But he also felt fear. The more he worked on the machine, the more the world outside seemed to change. The stars at night blinked unnaturally, like they were alive. The shadows in the corners of the workshop felt heavier, like unseen eyes were watching. The boy could not shake the feeling that his father's warning was true. They were watching. One evening, as rain tapped against the windows, the boy connected 2 loose wires. The machine suddenly roared to life. The sound shook the floor, and the circle in the center began to glow with blinding light. The boy shielded his eyes. The air vibrated, heavy and electric, as though the world itself was bending. Through the light he saw something, another place, a space not of Earth. It was dark and endless, filled with towers of silver and creatures with glowing eyes. He gasped. The machine was a doorway. His father had built a portal. But just as quickly, the light flickered and died. The machine went silent again, smoke rising from its frame. The boy fell to his knees, shaking. He had seen it. He had seen the other side. His father was out there. He knew it now. The boy's hands trembled, but his eyes were filled with determination. He whispered, "I will fix you. I will open you. I will find him." That night, his sleep was filled with dreams. He dreamed of standing inside the glowing circle, stepping into a world of strange stars and endless darkness. He dreamed of voices whispering, cold and cruel, saying, "Humans do not belong here. Erase them." He woke with sweat on his face and fear in his heart. The following days, he worked harder. He studied his father's notebooks with care, teaching himself to read the strange codes and numbers. Sometimes the radio crackled again, giving him hints. Other times, it was only static. But each time he felt his father's presence near, guiding him, urging him forward. The boy learned one thing. The machine was not powered by fuel or electricity alone. It responded to emotion. When he worked with anger in his chest, sparks jumped faster. When he worked with hope, the lights glowed brighter. The words in the notebook came back to him. Human heart will guide it. He realized now, this machine was more than science. It was alive in some way, and it needed something only humans had. One evening, as he tightened a final bolt, he heard footsteps. His mother stood in the doorway, tired eyes watching him. She frowned. "What are you doing in here?" she asked softly. The boy froze. He wanted to tell her everything, but he could not. She had suffered too much. She needed hope, not fear. I'm fixing something Father left," he said. She looked at the half-built circle inside. "Your father wasted so many nights in this place. Machines cannot heal what is broken." But the boy shook his head. "This one can," he whispered, more to himself than to her. That night, after his mother went back to her room, he sat before the machine again. He touched its frame, feeling the faint hum beneath the cold metal. The stars outside flickered, brighter than ever, as though waiting for him. The boy knew the truth now. This machine was his path. It was dangerous, forbidden, and unknown. But it was the only way to reach his father. He placed his hand on the control panel and whispered, "I will not give up, no matter what watches me, no matter what stands in my way. I will finish this." And deep inside the machine, a pulse of light answered, like a heartbeat. The night was darker than usual. Clouds swallowed the moon, and the stars that had always flickered strangely now hid behind a heavy sky. Inside the workshop, the boy stood before the machine. His hands shook, but not from fear alone. They shook with expectation. He had worked on the machine for weeks, maybe months. Time no longer felt the same. Each night he added a wire, turned a screw, and whispered promises to his father. Each day, he carried the secret in silence, pretending to be a normal child while his mother's tired eyes followed him. Tonight the machine pulsed with light. The circle of metal, once cold and broken, now throbbed faintly like it carried a heartbeat. The boy pressed his palm against its surface and it hummed under his skin. The notebook had been right. The machine responded not to numbers, not to fuel, but to what burned inside him. Anger, hope, love. He closed his eyes and thought of his mother's tears. He thought of his father's voice whispering, "Find me before they erase everything." He thought of the nights he lay awake, staring at the stars that blinked as though alive. The hum grew louder, sparks leapt. The circle filled with light, and then it opened. The glow turned into a swirling portal, a hole cut into reality. The boy gasped. Inside the circle was no longer his workshop. It was something else, something vast. He stepped closer, eyes wide. On the other side stretched a place unlike Earth. Towers of silver and black rose into the sky, glowing with veins of green light. Shadows moved across bridges that hung like webs. Strange figures walked with long limbs, their eyes burning like lamps in the dark. The air shimmered with energy, and a low hum filled everything, as if the place itself was alive. The boy's heart pounded. This was it. This was where his father had gone. He hesitated at the edge of the light. His hands trembled. He was only a child. Small, weak, alone. What could he do in a world like that? But then he remembered his mother crying in the dark, whispering that no one would help them. He remembered his father's voice, urgent, desperate. He could not turn back now. He took a deep breath and stepped through. For one heartbeat, it felt like falling into ice. His body shivered, his ears rang, and the world spun. Then he landed. His feet touched solid ground, but the air was different. Heavy, metallic, full of energy. The boy looked around, eyes wide. He stood on a platform that stretched into the distance. Above him, machines floated like silent guardians, glowing with blue symbols. Around him, tall figures moved slowly, their bodies thin and sharp, their faces pale and smooth, their eyes glowing without warmth. The boy froze. They were not human. One of them turned and looked at him. Its gaze was cold, empty, like it was staring at an insect. The boy felt a chill crawl down his spine. He had never seen such a being before, but he understood something instantly. These creatures did not cry, did not love, did not feel. They were not like his mother, broken by sorrow. They were not like him, burning with hope. They were something else. They whispered to each other in a language he could not understand. Their voices were flat, mechanical, almost without life. One of them raised a hand, and the machines above shifted, watching him like eyes in the sky. The boy's breath quickened. He wanted to run, but where? The platform stretched endlessly. The towers glowed in the distance, and the portal behind him had vanished. He was trapped. Then he remembered his father's words. Do not trust them. Yes, these were the ones his father had feared. These were the ones who wanted to erase everything. The creatures moved closer. The boy stepped back, his heart racing. He clenched his fists. But what could fists do against such beings? His fear almost swallowed him whole. And then it happened. One of the creatures reached out, its long fingers hovering near his chest. As it touched him, a strange energy passed between them. The boy gasped. The machine inside the workshop had taught him something. This world responded to emotion. And now, so did the creatures. When the being touched him, it recoiled. Its glowing eyes flickered. The boy realized why. It had felt his fear. It had felt his anger. It had felt his love for his mother. They had no emotions. But he did. And to them, it was poison. The creatures hissed, stepping back. Their voices rose in sharp tones like alarms. The floating machines turned their gaze away, as if his presence burned them. The boy's fear melted into something else. Understanding. This was why his father had been taken. This was why they hated humans. Not because humans were weak, but because they carried something these creatures could never touch. Emotion. He whispered to himself, "They are afraid of me." The creatures surrounded him still, but they did not touch again. They only watched, whispering their cold language. The boy's heart beat faster, not only with fear now, but with power. He was only a child, but he carried something greater than their towers, their machines, their glowing eyes. He carried the one thing they could never erase. The boy stood frozen on the strange platform, surrounded by tall, cold beings. Their glowing eyes followed his every move, yet none of them touched him again. They had felt something when they reached for him, something that disturbed them, something they could not control. Emotion. The boy now understood. They feared what humans carried inside. They feared the thing that made his mother cry and made him strong at the same time. But where was his father? The creatures whispered to one another, their voices flat and sharp like breaking glass. Two of them stepped aside, revealing a long corridor made of black stone and glowing veins of green. Light! One of them raised its hand, pointing the boy forward. His chest tightened. He wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. He swallowed his fear and walked. His small footsteps echoed in the vast corridor, while the creatures followed in silence. Tuck. Path ended at a massive door, taller than any tower he had ever seen. It opened with a slow groan, revealing a room filled with humming machines. In the center of the room was a prison of glass and metal, and inside it was his father. The boy gasped. His father looked thinner, weaker, but his face was the same. His eyes lit up when he saw his son. He pressed his hands against the glass. "Son," his father whispered, his voice trembling. "You found me." The boy ran to the glass, pressing his small hands against it. Tears blurred his eyes. "Father, I knew you were alive." The creatures stood silently behind them, their glowing eyes watching. His father glanced at them, then back at his son. His face turned serious. "You must listen to me," he said. "I didn't leave you. I was taken. They feared what I discovered. They feared what humans can do." The boy's voice shook. "What do you mean?" His father's hands trembled on the glass. "Humans are different. You've already seen it. They cannot feel what we feel. Love, grief, anger, hope. But emotions are not weakness, son. They are power. I built the machine to prove it, to show that the human heart can shape energy, bend it, even open doors between worlds. That's why they took me. That's why they will never let me go." The boy's mind raced. His father had been building the machine not only as an invention but as a weapon, or maybe a key. Something that could change everything. His father's voice grew softer. "When your mother cried at night, it broke me too. But it also gave me strength to fight, to build, to reach beyond this world. Son, do you understand? Our pain, our love, our hope, they are not curses. They are what make us strong. They are the reason we are feared." The boy's fists clenched. He remembered the way the creatures recoiled when they touched him. He remembered the way the machine pulsed when he poured his heart into it. He nodded, slowly. "I understand." But then his father's eyes darkened. "You must be careful. These beings will try to use you. They cannot destroy emotions, but they can trap them, twist them, erase them from history. They believe the universe should be cold, without love or sorrow. If they win, humanity will vanish, not our bodies, but what makes us human." The boy shivered. The weight of his father's words pressed on him like a storm. He was only a child. How could he fight such beings? His father seemed to sense his fear. He pressed his palm against the glass again. "You don't have to fight them with fists or weapons. You only have to remember what they can never touch, your heart, your mother's love, my hope. That is stronger than all their machines." Before the boy could answer, one of the creatures stepped forward and tapped the glass prison. His father winced as energy rippled across it. The creature's voice hissed in its alien tongue, sharp and cold. "They're warning me," his father whispered. "They don't want me to tell you the rest. But listen carefully." He leaned closer to the glass, his voice urgent. "The machine you finished, it is not just a door. It is a bridge of human will. If you pour your heart into it, it can do more than open worlds. It can break prisons. It can tear down their towers. But you must be ready, son. You must believe." The boy's eyes filled with tears again. "I'll save you. I promise. I won't let them keep you here." His father gave a small smile, weak but proud. "I know you will. Because you are human. And that means you carry something greater than all of this." Suddenly alarms blared. The room filled with red light. The creatures hissed and surrounded the boy. One of them raised a hand, and the glass prison began to sink into the floor. His father's voice echoed, "Remember who you are, remember your heart." "Father," the boy screamed, reaching out as the glass sank deeper. His father's hand pressed against the glass until the last moment, until he disappeared into the shadows below. The boy fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. The creatures dragged him back, their glowing eyes unblinking, but inside his chest a fire burned brighter than ever. He had seen the truth. His father was alive. His father had trusted him with the secret of humanity's power. And now, the boy carried that secret. He would not let it die. The boy was dragged through the alien corridors, his small arms locked by cold hands that felt more like iron than flesh. The glowing-eyed creatures whispered their lifeless language, their voices sharp and empty, as if they carried no soul. But the boy was no longer only afraid. Inside his chest, the fire his father had lit was burning brighter than ever. He had seen his father alive. He had heard the truth. Humans were not weak, not cursed. They were powerful because they carried emotions the universe itself could not erase. Love, sorrow, hope. Things these creatures feared. The boy clenched his fists. Though his body was too small to fight, he told himself again and again, "I will save him. I will not stop. I will bring him home." The creatures led him to a narrow chamber where the walls glowed with shifting symbols. It felt like a prison, though no doors closed behind him. Instead, the air itself grew heavy, pressing against his chest. The boy staggered, gasping, realizing the room itself was alive. It was designed to trap him, not with chains, but with silence. The silence was thick, smothering, designed to crush his emotions, to drain his fire. The boy dropped to his knees, clutching his chest. He felt his anger weaken, his hope dim. The creatures stood outside, watching, waiting for the fire to die. But then he remembered his father's words. "You only have to remember what they can never touch. Your heart, your mother's love, my hope." He closed his eyes and pictured his mother, crying in the dark, waiting for the man who never came home. He pictured her hands trembling as she cooked for him, her tired eyes pretending to be strong. He pictured his father's hand pressed against the glass, whispering that humanity's heart was stronger than all their machines. And the silence broke. A pulse of warmth exploded inside him, pushing the heavy air away. The boy stood, his eyes burning with determination. The glowing symbols on the walls flickered as if confused. The creatures outside shifted uneasily, their empty eyes narrowing. The boy whispered, "You cannot erase me. You cannot erase us." The walls cracked with light. The creatures hissed and backed away. The boy felt stronger now, not in body but in spirit. He was beginning to understand what his father meant. His emotions were not weakness. They were a force. That night, as the creatures tried to move him again, the boy noticed something. The corridors were filled with machines, tall and silent, their surfaces reflecting the green light of the alien towers. But whenever he passed near them, they flickered like they could feel him. He touched one and it hummed. The alien guards pulled him away instantly, their voices rising in alarm. The boy smiled. He had learned something new. His emotions could disturb their machines. His very presence was a weapon. The next time they locked him in the chamber, he did not cry or fall to his knees. He focused on his mother's sorrow, his father's hope, his own anger. The walls shuddered. The glowing symbols dimmed. He was learning control. He began to form a plan. He could not fight them with fists. But if his emotions could weaken their machines, maybe they could break the prison holding his father. Maybe they could open the way back to Earth. Days, or maybe weeks passed. Time was strange here. The boy waited, observed, and listened. The creatures spoke rarely, but when they did, he caught fragments of their meaning. They spoke of the human problem, of danger in the heart, of erasure before it spreads. They feared him, just as they feared his father. One night, the boy sat in the chamber staring at the glowing walls. He whispered to himself, "I cannot do this alone. I need him. I need father. And as if the universe itself heard him, the radio in his mind sparked. A faint echo of his father's voice reached him, carried on the silence. Son, do not give up. The machine responds to your will. Use it. Feel it. Find me. The boy's eyes widened. His father was reaching for him, even through the prison. He placed his hand on the wall, focusing all his strength, all his love, all his anger. The wall glowed brighter, cracks spreading across it like veins of light. The chamber trembled. The creatures rushed forward, their empty voices screaming. The boy shouted, his small voice echoing like thunder. I will not let you erase us. The wall shattered. Energy burst outward, throwing the creatures back. The boy staggered forward, gasping, his body weak, but his heart blazing. He ran. The corridors twisted like endless webs, but the machines reacted to him now. Lights dimmed as he passed, alarms roared, and the cold-eyed beings hissed in fury. The boy's small legs carried him faster than ever before. At last he reached the chamber where his father's prison had been. The glass cell stood in the center, glowing faintly. His father sat inside, his face pale but his eyes burning with pride. You did it, his father whispered, pressing his hands against the glass. The boy pressed his palms to the prison. I will break this, I promise. The machines around them wailed and the alien guards stormed closer, but the boy did not move away. He closed his eyes, focusing on every tear his mother had shed, every word his father had spoken, every promise he had made to himself. The prison shook. Cracks formed across its surface. His father's eyes widened. Yes, his father whispered. That's it. Your heart is the key. The boy screamed, pouring everything he had into that moment. Love, sorrow, rage, hope. The glass cracked, wider, light spilling from inside. And then, the prison shattered. The prison shattered. Glass and light exploded into the air like falling stars. The boy shielded his face as the pieces rained down around him, glowing before they vanished into nothing. When the light cleared, his father stood free, weak, thin, but alive. His father's hands trembled as he reached for his son. The boy ran into his arms, tears streaming down his face. Father, he whispered, holding him tightly. His father's voice shook, but his words were steady. You did it. You freed me. Behind them, alarm screamed through the alien tower. The glowing-eyed creatures rushed forward, their long bodies moving with inhuman speed. They hissed, their voices sharp and cold, carrying no life. The boy turned, still clutching his father's hand. The creatures surrounded them. Hundreds of them, their pale faces reflecting the green light of the towers. Floating machines above glowed like watchful eyes. The father looked down at his son. They will not stop now. They will erase us both. The boy shook his head. No, they can't. You said it yourself. They fear us. They fear our hearts. His father's tired eyes filled with pride. Then show them. Show them what it means to be human. The boy closed his eyes. He thought of everything. His mother crying in the dark, waiting for hope that never came. His father, trapped in glass, but still fighting. His own night staring at the stars, whispering promises to himself. Anger burned. Sorrow cut deep. Love rose like fire. Hope lifted him higher, and the world around him responded. The air shook with energy. The ground trembled. The machines above flickered and dimmed. The creatures staggered back, their glowing eyes flickering as if something was breaking inside them. The boy opened his eyes. They glowed with light. Not cold, not empty, but burning with the warmth of every emotion he carried. The creatures hissed louder, moving to strike. But when they touched the boy's presence, they recoiled, their hands shaking, their bodies twisted as if in pain. They can't stand it, his father whispered. Your heart, and it's too strong for them. The boy lifted his hands. The energy inside him surged outward, not like a weapon of steel, but like a wave of Fire made from love and grief. The creatures screamed, their voices hollow as the wave threw them back. The floating machine sparked and fell, crashing into the platform below. Still, more came. The towers around them pulsed with green light, trying to contain him. The boy fell to one knee, exhausted, but his father placed a hand on his shoulder. "You are not alone," his father said softly. "I am with you. Your mother is with you. Every human heart is with you." The boy's eyes burned brighter. He stood again, raising his hands higher. He shouted, his small voice echoing like thunder. "You will not erase us." The ground split with light, towers cracked, the sky above the alien world tore open with fire. The creatures screamed as their city trembled, their cold empire shaking under the weight of something they could never understand. Emotion, love, humanity. The boy and his father clung to each other as the energy roared outward. The machine, the doorway he had built, flared alive behind them, glowing brighter than ever. It pulsed like a heartbeat, answering his will. His father shouted over the noise, "Now, use it! Take us home!" The boy focused all his power, all his emotions into the glowing circle. The machine responded instantly, its light growing until it filled the sky. The doorway opened wide, showing the stars, then Earth, then the small house where his mother waited. The boy's legs trembled, his chest ached, but he pushed forward, pulling his father into the light. The creatures tried to stop them, but the wave of human emotion blasted them back again. Their empty eyes flickered, their cold empire crumbling. And then, they stepped through. The world shifted. The roar of machines and alarms vanished. The cold alien air was gone. They were back. The boy stumbled into the small workshop, the machine, humming softly behind him. His father fell beside him, coughing, his body weak but free. The boy's mother appeared in the doorway, her eyes wide. For a moment she could not move. She could not breathe. Then she ran. She dropped to her knees, pulling them both into her arms. Tears streamed down her face, but they were not the same tears the boy had heard night after night. These were tears of joy. "You came back," she whispered. "You came back to me." The boy looked at his father, then at his mother. His chest ached with exhaustion, but he smiled. He had done it. He had kept his promise. He had ended her tears. Outside the window, the stars flickered again, but this time, they did not feel cold or strange. They felt alive, watching, waiting, respecting, the boy whispered softly, almost to himself. They thought emotions were weakness, but they were wrong. Our hearts are stronger than their machines. His father placed a hand on his shoulder. "Remember this, son. Humanity is not cursed. Humanity is the power the universe fears most. And in that small house, with tears of joy and the warmth of love, the family was whole again. The war with the cold empire was not over. The creatures were still out there, afraid, waiting. But the boy had shown the truth. In a universe without feeling, it was humanity's love that became the greatest power of all.